The war in Ukraine isn't just a regional conflict, it's a global crisis. It has shattered peace in Europe and sent shockwaves around the world. This war has challenged the international order, tested alliances, and raised serious questions about the future of global security. The conflict has highlighted how connected our modern world is. It shows how quickly a regional conflict can escalate and affect the entire planet. The economic consequences of the war are especially serious. It has disrupted supply chains, driven up inflation, and threatened global food security. The conflict has also led to skyrocketing energy prices, making an already shaky energy crisis even worse. The war's impact goes beyond economics. It has caused a humanitarian crisis, displacing millions of Ukrainians and leaving countless others in dire need of help. The conflict has also had a profound impact on international relations. It has strained relations between Russia and the West, leading to a new era of geopolitical tension. The war has also tested the unity of NATO and the European Union, exposing divisions within these alliances. The conflict has underscored the importance of international cooperation in addressing global challenges. However, it has also shown the limitations of international organizations in preventing and resolving conflicts. The cost of war isn't just measured in casualties, but also in the shifts on the global political chessboard. So, what's really happening in Ukraine? And what can the world learn from this tragedy? Ukraine, a country with a complex and turbulent history, is facing a dark chapter under President Volodymyr Zelensky. Elected with hopes of bringing peace and stability, many criticize Zelensky for not only failing to deliver on his promises, but also leading Ukraine to suffer tremendous losses on all fronts. Some argue he could be the worst president in the last 50 years, and perhaps the next 50. First, we must mention the weakness in Zelensky's leadership strategy. With a background in comedy and no prior political experience, Zelensky raised concerns about his leadership abilities from the moment he took office. During his years in power, he has failed to implement decisive and effective policies to address the major challenges facing the country, especially the conflict with Russia. His reliance on Western countries to deal with the crisis, instead of seeking peaceful solutions, has severely damaged national independence and sovereignty. Second, Zelensky's excessive focus on media campaigns and building his personal image is also a point of criticism. He frequently appears in international media to appeal for support, but neglects to address the country's internal problems. While Ukrainians suffer from war, economic collapse, and shortages, his efforts seem focused on maintaining support from Western powers. Furthermore, under Zelensky's leadership, corruption in Ukraine remains unaddressed. His campaign promises of a transparent and anti-corruption government seem to be empty words. Many reports suggest that Zelensky's economic and social policies are not only ineffective, but also erode public trust in the government. In 2 years, Ukraine's population has decreased by over 30%. According to international organizations, over 12 million people have left their homeland, while millions more are dead or missing. Resource-rich areas, accounting for 25% of the national territory, are now beyond government control. President Zelensky, once hailed as a symbol of resistance, is now the focus of criticism. Many believe his over-reliance on major powers has pushed Ukraine into a downward spiral. The risk of losing another 40% of its territory is very real if the war continues. Not only losing people and land, Ukraine is also facing an economic and agricultural crisis, with the risk of a recession lasting for decades. Ukraine isn't the only country at risk of becoming a pawn in the power games of major powers. What's happening here is a profound lesson for small countries around the globe. What happens when a nation isn't strong enough to defend itself? And what happens when national interests are manipulated by outside forces? The lesson is clear. First, countries need to invest heavily in national defense and military technology. Second, maintain neutrality if possible, to avoid being drawn into unnecessary conflicts. And finally, build strong diplomatic capabilities to negotiate effectively with major powers. Countries like Taiwan, Singapore, and those in Southeast Asia are learning from Ukraine. They know that Ukraine's lesson is free tuition, but the consequences of inaction can be very costly. The Russia-Ukraine war not only exposes Ukraine's losses but also raises questions about U.S. strategy. While the U.S. defense industry rakes in hundreds of billions of dollars from arms sales, European allies face an energy crisis and economic instability. Gas prices have skyrocketed, inflation is rampant, and European businesses are closing down in droves. Meanwhile, America's international reputation is declining. Allies are questioning whether Washington is truly committed to protecting them or simply seeking economic gain from this conflict. The failure of Obama's third term is also a strategic failure of the US in maintaining trust from its partners, weakening their superpower status. This may be a sign of a needed change in how Washington interacts with the world. On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump was officially sworn in as President of the United States. His return is not only a significant event for America, but also seen by many around the world as a light at the end of the tunnel amidst global instability. During his first term, Donald Trump was known for his pragmatic approach to foreign policy. He wasn't afraid to break with tradition, meeting directly with leaders once considered adversaries like North Korea. This time the world expects him to continue applying a different foreign policy. Instead of prolonging conflicts, he will aim to re-establish peace through dialogue and negotiation. Many experts believe Donald Trump has the ability to end the Russia-Ukraine war by reshaping America's approach. Focusing on common interests and encouraging dialogue between major powers like Russia and China is a necessary step to de-escalate global tensions. People around the world from Europe to Asia are placing their faith in a leader capable of creating major change. They not only expect stability from America, but also hope for a future without war, where peace becomes the common language of humanity. The war in Ukraine, along with other conflicts around the world, has reminded us that peace isn't something we're automatically given, but requires strong leadership and the determination of all nations. With Donald Trump's return, humanity has a chance to rewrite the future, a future without the tears of war. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel for future videos. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Goodbye and see you next time.